I'm not being able to share as yet. Can you give me the option of sharing as well? It's just
Yes. The host can just provide you the option. Yeah, you can share it now, ma'am.
yeah. Great. I'll just try and put it up once to make sure that it's all working. Huh?
Yes.
Stick with it. Done. Stop sharing. All right, I'm set.
Okay, Aditi, you can start now. It's already 3 minutes up. So yeah.
Nitin Sharma is the chairperson.
Yes. For WOSY.
Anuradha ji, namaste.
Dhanyawad.
Hello, can I start?
Yes, please. You can start.
Yes. Hello everyone, I'm Aditya Jagtap. I'm a WOSY activist. I am representing Pune chapter in WOSY. Today with us, we have our guest from WOSY, Mr. Nitin Sharma. Mr. Nitin Sharma is the Regional Solutions Sales Director of South Asia General Management Business. He is also the chairperson of WOSY. I would like to invite Mr. Nitin Sharma to address a few words to our fellow students.
Good morning, everyone. Professor Anuradha ji, representative ICCR, my fellow colleagues, and dear students. Welcome you all in India. Today we are going to learn about our culture of cuisine and dance from an eminent learned professor, Professor Anuradha. And in Indian culture, today we celebrate as Guru Purnima. I think this is the perfect day to learn from someone. Today, we celebrate this day by paying our gratitude and respect to our teachers in Indian culture. And I think, luckily, this day that we have selected, or our Gujarat team has selected for this program, it's a wonderful day. And I would like to tell you, friends, this is the best day as per Indian culture to learn and to pay our gratitude and respect to our teachers. On behalf of WOSY and ICCR, I welcome you all and I wish you good luck for your period in India, for your study time, and this will be going to your fun time also with us. We will be always with you for all your concerns. Our team will always be there to get to know from you if you need something or if we can help you in any way. So thank you all and welcome you again in India for this program and for your study. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Nitin Sharma ji. Along with this, we have our other guest, Mr. Sanjeev Ningambam, who is our National General Secretary of WOSY, and our today's guest and speaker, Shri Professor Anuradha Chaudhary ma'am. I'll give a short introduction of Anuradha ma'am, and then we can start with our today's session. Mrs. Anuradha is PhD. She has a PhD in Vedic psychology from Pondicherry University. She is a professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences for Sanskrit and Indian psychology. She is also founder of Ritambara Yogashala and Takshashila Institute of India Studies. I would like to call on Shri Anuradha Chaudhary ma'am to start the session.
Namaste and a very warm welcome to all our participants from the different parts of the world to this particular session. I'd like to start by offering my gratitude to the team, the entire WOSY team, namely Sanjeev ji, Nitish ji, we have Naveen ji, Dr. Abhishek ji, and also the ICCR representatives who are organizing this program. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'd like to start here by sharing a little bit of my slide, which is an introduction to India largely, and within which I will cover the topics that have been mentioned here. So welcome to this land of possibilities, not just on one layer of reality, but multiple coexisting realities that are a very living truth for the people who inhabit this subcontinent. And at the physical level, all of you are present. We are here sharing a space, a virtual space already. And at other levels, there are different forces that are responsible for allowing us to come together to have this sharing of ideas, of understanding of the civilization. So I'd like to offer my gratitude also to those forces that permit such activities to take place. As Nitish ji rightly mentioned, we have it's a very important day today. It's the Guru Purnima day, where we offer our obeisances and our salutations to our gurus, our teachers, who have laid the foundations for anything that can emerge. So a humble salutations to them, as well as I mentioned to the occult forces that permit such activities to take place. So in India, we very typically invoke Lord Ganesha, who's said to be the remover of all obstacles. So I'll offer a small salutation in Sanskrit and also a verse to Lord Ganesha to invite his blessings for the smooth conduction of this particular program. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Shri Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Medeva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om. So thank you for silently joining me in that invocation. I'd like to move on to the next topic. I'll make a full screen. And I'd also love if the session is a little interactive. So I might ask you questions and I'd love to hear back from you on the chat. And I'll have to figure out how I can see the chat, but I'm sure we'll be able to do so. So today's topic is really an introduction to India itself. I'm sure there are many learned speakers who have already done their part in giving an idea of what this country is all about. And I'll try and bring in a little more of these dimensions of language, literature, music, dance, cuisines, the architecture, etc. But I'll start with a prelude of a little bit of the history of this country. So my first question to you is that when you think of India, what are the ideas that come to your mind? What comes to your mind when you think of India? So you can even unmute. I'd love to hear your voices. So if you'd like to unmute and if you have the possibility, if not, if you could just write it out on the chat, that would also be wonderful. So you've come into India from different parts of the world. So maybe if you can also, before we continue on to the presentation itself, I'd love to know about you. So if you would like to just introduce yourself in your respective languages, but if you can write it in Roman script. So I would, for example, say Mama Nama, my name, Mama Nama Anuradha. So what is your name and where do you come from? So I'd love to just have an idea of the backgrounds from which you are all coming to this particular session. So I see Lucy's just saying that there's knowledge, wonderful. It's a land of knowledge. Anybody else? Like I said, please feel free to Andeku Ronald. India is the land of diversity. Enjoying with the song, Madam Great. George Mumbai. Thank you. Wonderful. Anybody else? Where are you from also? So Lucy, Lucy and Beku, George, where are you all from also? So if you can just let me connect to the lands that have allowed you to travel to this place, to discover a whole new civilization perhaps. Good afternoon, Dilwane Jennifer. Very nice. Where are you from? Very nice, yes. And where are you from? I can see your chat here. India is a country with different cultures. Great. Yes, Nikhil Kumar Das. Yes. Okay, from Uganda. Andekuji. Wonderful. Karanji's India is a land of beautiful culture. Karen from Kenya. Wonderful. Thank you. Oh, from Mozambique. Wonderful. My name is Nikhil Kumar Das from Nepal. Wonderful. Francis Manna from Sierra Leone, where I think India is a land of its music. Yes. I mean, all of the different lands also bring forth the music. And what is music also? It's quite fascinating to think about it. Rosina Shikongo is saying India is a land of color and culture. From Namibia, bienvenue. A lot of you are from the French-speaking African nations. Wonderful. Naveen Sivikji from Afghanistan, welcome. Wonderful. Great. Okay. So some of you have spoken of India, you've spoken of this land being a land of knowledge. And are you aware of the other name that this land is normally known as? You've got Ashish Lamichani who's saying India is a land of culture and lots of opportunities. Absolutely true. A land of Bollywood. Absolutely. That's one of the most exported soft powers we have. Bakasha Baru Hanga Onesmus, she is saying to have experience of different cultures and a way of life. Wonderful. Rosmira from Venezuela. Very nice. Okay. Okay. So my next question to you is, have you heard this? Have you heard another name for India? Got Nasima Ibrahimi, Alamam, India, Saifullah. Rahimi ji saying India is a land of amazing culture, lots of opportunity from Afghanistan. Welcome. Warm welcome to all of you here. Yes. Incredible India. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So India is a land of a lot of diversity. Absolutely. So moving on to the topic of the day, there's another name by which this land is known. Do you know what that name is? What other name is this land known as that you might have heard? I'll wait and see if any of you can get that. Then I'll continue. Hindustan, yes. Yes. That's one name. Another one, yeah, Jambudvipa. Yes, Amashi Singh Bharat, Amashi from Sri Lanka. Wonderful. Bharat, yes. Bharat, absolutely. Yes, yes. So I was looking for the word Bharat. So even in our constitution, we have this India that is Bharat. No? And the word Bharat is very beautiful because it comes from the word Bha, to shine, and Rata means immersed. So this was a land that was immersed in light. Light, not just the physical light, obviously, but the light that is the light of knowledge that was representative of what this culture meant for the world. There are people who came here from different lands. So let's discover a little more about that. So what came to your mind? Some of the things, so when you think of India, a few questions that arise: is it a modern land or an ancient land? Is it a rich land or is it a poor land? So we have one of the biggest numbers of billionaires on this land, and yet India is also known for poverty. If you look at many news reports, invariably you see pictures of squalor and poverty. So it's a land of a lot of paradoxes. Is it a mad land? You look at the roads, you look at so many things, and you can't seem to make sense of this land. Or is it something that is very meaningful? People from different parts of the world come here looking for meaning. So is it this madness, or is there really some profound meaning under it? Is it chaotic? Again, one looks at a road and one knows that when you compare it maybe with European roads and all, it's a very different scenario that you meet. But at certain places it is very, very organized. So is it chaotic or is it organized? Is it simple or is it very, very complex? Is it a land of mystery and is it mystical? Or is it a land which is very ordinary? All of these questions come to our mind. And then you have also regressive. So if you look at this country, you see that there are certain practices, certain ways of living that could be considered as regressive by certain modern lenses. And in certain times, they might even be regressive, and certain times they could appear to be regressive. Or is this a very, very progressive nation? So we have a lot of these paradoxes, these binaries that we're having to deal with. But one thing that none of us can deny, and which I have also found in your answers, is that this is a land of great diversity. It's a land that is full of dynamism. It's a land that is exuberant at every gaze that you have. Wherever you look, it seems to be bursting with some form of life or the other. And none of you will deny the fact that it's an extremely colorful nation. And we celebrate our colors in many, many ways. I would also at this point like to express my profound gratitude to Dr. Vinay Chandra, who's also been a very close member of WOSY. And he is the one who's actually brought this presentation together and allowed me to share it and add my own ideas to it. So this is what some small representatives of the colors of this land. So very often when we talk to our friends, because I belong to the yoga world as well, so when we talk to our friends, they tell us that this is a land that you either love at first sight for some reason or you just can't stand it. So is it a love or a hate story is a question that is open to every visitor to India to fathom sooner or later. And it is a land where everything is so different sometimes from the lands that you might have come to. And at the same time, there are many things that are common that you find. So the diversity could be in the means of the culture, the way we dress, the way we talk, the food we eat. All of this can be very new to your senses. But then when you connect with the people, you can. Many of you would have automatically felt that at the end of the day, despite our differences, behind all the apparent, um, the apparent cultural shades of expression, the human being is very similar. And if you can make that human connect, you will indeed discover what one of our participants very beautifully mentioned, that this land is also the land that spoke of this verse, which said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means that the entire world is a family. And it has a very beautiful verse. And the last part is this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So the first part of it says, Ayam Nijah Paroveti. This is mine, that is somebody else's. Ganana Laghu Chetasam. So if you are somebody with a small mind, you will say, oh, this is mine, that is somebody else's, this is my country, that is somebody else's country. These kind of calculations are that of a small mind. Udara Charitanam, for one with a generous heart, for a generous character. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that the whole earth is a family, the whole world is a family. And it's in that spirit of remembering that common oneness that we share as a human family, we share not just as a human family. This is also a land that has had a relationship, a personal relationship with plants, with animals. It's a land that has welcomed all of creation as one of its families. We have villages in India where people live in complete harmony with snakes. So snakes will move in and out, and everybody behaves as if it's the most normal thing. Like people come in and out of houses, you have snakes moving in and out of the houses. You have another community like the Bishnoi. The Bishnoi community, they live in great harmony with nature. They even there are pictures, very beautiful pictures of a mother nursing an animal, a deer, that she's literally feeding her deer out of like breastfeeding her deer. So you have these very beautiful relationships with not just human beings, but also with all of nature, and also with crocodiles. Yes. So we have Barkatullah ji saying it's a land of harmony, integrity, diversity, opportunity from Afghanistan. Absolutely. So moving on, just to give you a few numbers. Some of these numbers are a little older, but anyway, just to give you an idea. So there is a documented history of at least 5,000 years. It's a modern republic since 1947. We're going to celebrate our 75 years from here onwards. And we have the government. It's a democracy. And in terms of democracy, India is one of the oldest continuously surviving democracies in the world. It's a population of 1.32 billion, which is, and of which of at least 65% is below 35 years of age. The numbers are a little higher than what are given here. Languages, at least 23 official languages. So if you look at the Indian currency, any Indian note, you will see the languages. We don't have 23 out there, but you've got some of the oldest official languages that are mentioned there. And so again, I invite you really to join me on this journey, to allow your imaginations to open up and try and also understand the opportunities, like what many have said, but also the challenges that will come about in terms of governance, in terms of knowing people from different regions. Because if you, as a government, you want to, make any announcement, you can't just make it in one language. So nations that have a one language formula, largely, it's much easier for them to manage the country because there is a single language. Everybody understands that language. Everybody can practice the, answer and do accordingly. But in a land of 23 languages, we are also thinking of 23 official languages. We have over 1,000 dialects, etc., that add to the complexity and multiplicity of the linguistic web that this land is. So, as I was telling you, we have a new national education policy that is trying to be implemented. And one of the intentions of that policy is that we would like to bring in regional language teaching at all levels. And that in itself poses so many problems. So if you have teaching that is happening in many languages, at least in the regional language, people from different states who live there, how will they do? There are so many interesting challenges and again opportunities that arise because of the diversity that is there in this land. Religions, or if you're familiar, so Hinduism is also has been both Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, Baha'i, and there are many that are unregistered also here. But some of them fall directly into what the world knows as religion. And when we talk of religion, very typically we mean one book, one prophet, or one Messiah, one way of living. But a few of these, like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, are more Sikhism. They are more ways of life rather than a set, singular way of doing things. Okay. Then the current GDP, it's not exactly current because it's 2016, is 2.264 trillion USD, and it's only growing with a bit of a slowdown and all due to the corona pandemic that has hit economies worldwide. But generally, it's an economy that's growing. We have a growth rate of 7.6. Again, that's an older number there. Wealth, we are about the 4th position in the world with 101 billionaires. Again, those numbers would have increased since then. Poverty rate is about 20% of the world's poorest, or 172 million Indians below the poverty line. So when we also talk of poverty, there are many ways of looking at poverty. But undeniably, from the established standards of poverty, there is this number that is there. Malnutrition is about 1/3 of the world's children here, unfortunately, suffer from that. And films, we have 1,500 Bollywood plus movie plus many other. Bollywood is just one movie industry. Every region has its own movie industry. So movies in a year in at least 27 Indian languages. I'm very happy if at any point you have a question, you want to share something, please feel free to jump in the chat. So this is just to give you a perspective. So this is a perspective, and you see that if you had to spread India out, it will cover a lot of the European nations would come under the Indian subcontinent. This map is just a map that we picked off the net. It's not 100% accurate, just to put it in to draw your attention to it. But the next one is that in terms of population, you see there are so many countries, populations that can fit into India. These are the different regions, the different states of India. So you just get an idea of how massive this nation is, and the diversity, of course, that is there. Yes. And this is also, again, just to give you an idea in a different format of the population. Linguistically, so Chinese covers one of the biggest chunks, and then you have Hindi, Marathi. So just to give, again, a large bird's overview, of the kind of diversity, the kind of ratio of size of population, linguistic diversity, etc., that is there within the subcontinent. A very brief, I'll take you very quickly through this because you can find it and it might not be what each one of you is interested in, but just to give you an idea that you have the oldest artifacts that are found here that go back to at least 500,000 years. So there's a prehistory, and then the history that we are a little more familiar is the Indus Valley, Indus and Saraswati Valley civilizations, the Mohenjo-daro and Harappa civilizations, incredible excavations of cities that were built. In fact, they say that it's the oldest township that has full sewage networks, which means that it was a highly advanced society in terms of its architecture, in terms of its engineering skills, town planning. In fact, the spread of the thing was something like 3,000 kilometers square of area. They find very similar architecture, they find similar ratios. The ratio of the bricks is similar across this vast span of land. And you find amazing things. And then you also, when you talk of Indian history, there is invariably this discussion of the Aryan and the Dravidian story of our origins. But so just for those of you who might not be so familiar, there is a theory that was floated during the British colonial period in this land, which was from the 18th century till the early 21st century, 20th century, no, 21st century. So what they said is that they spoke of the fact that you had in India, there was an older civilization known as the Dravidian civilization, and there was an invasion from people known as the Aryans from the Central European lands, and they came over, and then there was a fight, and the Aryans were the Brahmins, and they took over this land and pushed the Dravidian, dark-skinned Dravidian, to the south. So that is a story that was told to us based on certain linguistic origins. But the recent findings based on archaeology and all are in fact saying that this entire theory was a myth. There is no sign of war in the excavations that are coming up. There is no sign of war. There's no sign of any kind of remnants of people who might have come from other lands into and settled here. The whole understanding of Arya and Dravida is very different because it was a linguistic family group. It had nothing to do with race. So if you hear of the Aryan race, which Hitler also spoke about, it's very important at this point to get it clarified that there is nothing like the Aryan race really. There were the Aryan people who had a certain quality. It was a certain quality of nobility. Again, nothing to do with the race. You had people with nobility coming from the south, you had people from nobility coming from the north, from the east, from the west. So it was more of the character of a people rather than a racial feature. And this theory today is more that possibly the civilization developed in the Indus Valley Basin, and from there was a spread outside. So rather than there's a more of a migration idea that is going on there. Okay, and then we have an important, and that particular civilization was suddenly abandoned. And when they did more excavations, they're arriving at the fact that this could have happened because of a natural calamity. Maybe there was a drought so arid that everything suddenly dried up and people had to move lower to the Gangetic plains. So this is the dominant theory, and when they're placing the Indus Valley, the Vedic civilization, they place it around anything between 1500 BCE to around 3000 BCE to 1500 BCE, because they talk of an important river known as Saraswati, which is supposed to have dried out. So what we find today is that there are artifacts that predate that also. So there's very little clarity, I must honestly confess, about the antiquity of the Indic civilization or the Indian civilization. We have a lot more clarity from 600 BCE, from the time of Lord Buddha. That's when you have Jainism, Buddhism that started flourishing. A lot of works, even within the Indian culture, a lot of scholars of the yoga world, the texts like Yoga Sutras, important grammar texts also in Sanskrit were formulated during this period of 600 BCE. So 600 BCE for some reason seems to be a time when many things were happening in this subcontinent, which mind you was not the shape that it has today. It had a much wider spread in different from different accounts that we have. Then you have a period known as the Mauryan period, then the golden age of Indian arts and sciences, where you had a lot of great architecture, great works of art, etc., that were developed. And it's also during the Mauryan period is when Ashoka had come in. So Buddhism, then Ashoka who comes in and he adopts Buddhism as one of the important religions of the state or important ways of life. Moving on to the golden age of the Indian arts and sciences, we have many known travelers who came in from different lands, like Fahian from China, who came in and talked to us about the wealth of knowledge that was there. I'll just give you an idea about the spread of this land and the influence that it had in different places. So we had a very buzzing trade, sea route trades, and I'll show you the slide when we come to it. So I'll just move on for now. And then in the 12th, 13th century, we have an invasion by the Muslims invaded this land, and they stayed here for almost 800 years, and in different kinds of dynamics with the society. So there were times when there was harmony, there were times when there was antagonism, but the Muslims who came in, the Persians, the Mughals who came and settled in this land, wanted or adopted this land as their own, and also they established great empires during the time, as you can see, the Mughal Empire. So Akbar is one of the big names of that phase. And they built big structures like the Taj Mahal, etc. And then after that, you had the British rule. So we had another 200 years of British rule. So we almost have a history of 1,000 years of different forms of invasions and colonial rule. So you can imagine that there was a thriving culture that was there before that. Then invasions happened, discontinuities with the traditional lineages, but there were also a lot of assimilation that took place. And so the British came in. They came in through the East India Company, which started in as traders, and then they took over the land. They had arrangements with the different kings and all, and gradually they ruled the land. And the British period is also responsible for a lot of bringing a new mindset into the land by changing the system of education. So many of you who come from lands that have also been colonial lands, you would know that very often when colonial rulers come into a land, they try to change the culture. And one of a few ways they do it is they try and impose the language. The first thing they do is to change the language. Because if you change the language and stop access to the original sources, then people will forget their identity and adopt new identities that the colonial people want us to adopt. Okay, so that's how history has repeated itself wherever there has been colonial invasions. And then in the Indian freedom struggle that started from 1856, really, there was a big revolt that happened. And then from there, we had various leaders who took on this. And one of the most well-known names is Mahatma Gandhi. Some of you might have heard of Swami Vivekananda, who went around, who brought in the idea of yoga in different parts of the world. So there were different movements of India claiming her own independence and what she represents to the world. All right. And then we have free and modern India that since 1947. And that also resulted in the unfortunate partition of this land of we became India and Pakistan on the basis of a religious divide. But I must say that while on the political front there is, there are certain unrests and all that, I have a lot of very good Pakistani friends, and we see that very often there is really no difference between the people, the cultures that we followed. There's a lot of similarity between us. There is a certain religious difference, and that has caused this kind of unfortunate schism or this unfortunate divide in the land, which has its own political fallouts that are there. But I think again, like I would like to emphasize on the fact that if we know as a human race to look beyond our differences, we will really be able to identify our common connections and celebrate that. Let's celebrate our common unity and find out what is special in each culture. All right, so moving on. Just quickly an overview over what we have seen, because that was very small. So just it's been the cradle of human civilization, one of the oldest living civilizations, 5,000 years of documented history. So India is one of the oldest continuously surviving civilizations. The Egyptian civilization had wonderful artifacts and all, but we've lost the pharaohs, we've lost that connection with them. The Greek civilization was a great ancient civilization, but the continuity is not there. In India, you have cities like like Varanasi or Banaras that have a history of at least 5,000 years. You read our texts like the Vedas and different Puranas. They talk about that city, and you have that city still there, a vibrant city. You must all make it a point to visit Varanasi some point or the other. It's a land of um, mad wonders, if I may say so. So you then have the Vedic literature, which is almost like the foundation. It's also one of the oldest literatures of the world. And you had some ancient universities like the Takshashila, Nalanda, a lot of language literature, Sanskrit being the oldest. I'll talk to you a little bit about language when we move on to other slides. I'll give you an example of how extensive it is. Huh? So they started a dictionary almost 50 years back on the Sanskrit language. And until very recently, they had covered more than 90,000 words. Huh? And they had arrived only at the very first vowel, which is the vowel of the Sanskrit language. So vast literature that is there in this language. And fine arts, so music, dance, theatre, painting. Every single region has its unique style. Within the region, there are smaller sub-regions. Within the states, there are smaller regions that have their own unique style of music, dance, theatre, painting, food, dressing. All of this changes. Within, they say, every 100 meters, every 100 kilometers, you have another. It's almost like stepping into another world sometimes. Temple architecture, sculpture, iconography. And another very unique feature of India is that this is a land that has always welcomed people to become part of their land. So there was a story of a king when the Persians were being persecuted. The king came into the Indian land and came to meet the Indian king in the Bombay region. So when he said, the king said, we already are quite full. We have a lot of people in this kingdom. How will we accommodate you? So the Persian representative was a very wise man. So he asked a bowl of milk to be brought, and he poured some sugar into it. So he said, just like the sugar will merge with the milk, we will also merge with your society. So we have a history of some of the oldest Jewish populations, some of the oldest Persian or Parsis who still continue to be there. Their families still continue to live here. So we have different, even some of the earliest Christians. Saint Thomas is supposed to have come here in 800, 800 BC. Supposed to have come here. I'm not sure exactly which period, but he's supposed to have been one of the first disciples of Christ who came here during that time. So this land has never persecuted anybody on the basis of their religion alone, on their faith systems. And we'll see why that openness of mind. Where does this diversity really come from? And everything that is being allowed to coexist harmoniously to a large extent. So India's contribution to world thought and culture. So this is the land that has also contributed mathematically to the zero. The shunya that became the sifr, and then that became the zero as it traveled through the Arabic scholars into Europe. And you have yoga and Ayurveda that you're all very familiar with in the way that it has influenced the world today, and promoting well-being, again, without imposing any philosophy, anything. If you want to feel good, then there's a certain way of understanding oneself, a certain way of relating with oneself and the world that is promoted through yoga and Ayurveda. Linguistics, the whole stream of linguistics evolved when European scholars came in contact with the Sanskrit language and found a very detailed study of language there. I'll give you a little more taste of that. And then Buddha is one of the biggest, again, I would say one of the biggest, one of the most well-known figures world over. His philosophy of understanding the mind, of recognizing that as a human being, we all have suffering. I think it doesn't matter which culture we belong to. I think we will all agree on the fact that suffering seems to be that common underline that marks all our existence. So he asked himself a very practical question. He says, what can we do about it? Do we have, are we necessarily victims, or do we have the option of trying to overcome our suffering? So he has his four noble truths where he says that there is suffering, there is a way of there is an end to suffering, there is a path to overcoming suffering, and we can all achieve that. Okay, so this is what was the message of the Buddha. And how do you do that? We don't try to change somebody else. He recognized that suffering comes because of the way we look at the world. So there's a nice Japanese author who said this thing. He says that pain is inevitable because any kind of growth, if you want to grow, so many of you left your motherland and come here for a period of to study, etc. That separation would have caused pain. It would have caused pain to you, to your family. You're coming to a whole new culture. The encounter might have had certain frictions at times. There must have been welcome, there would have been friction, there would be conflict. So any kind of movement towards growth, towards letting go, involves pain. But he very beautifully says that pain is inevitable, but suffering is voluntary. And that was really the core message of the Buddha. That whether I want to look at a situation as a painful a situation that makes me suffer, or I look at it as pain and it makes me grow. So big messages that have been given to the world. Certain philosophical insights like the concept of infinity, renunciation, liberation. We can discuss some of this as we move on. Freedom of thought, mutual respect, and universal acceptance. So the Hinduism, or like let's say the Sanatana Dharma, as we prefer calling it, also is not we are not a philosophy of tolerance. Ours is a philosophy of acceptance. Why? Because it's said at the core that there is one truth that has many forms. So it is, you can call any name, it doesn't matter, because each one is trying to arrive at the deeper truth of who we are through a certain path. And that path need not even have a God at the end of it. It can just be seeking beauty, seeking oneness with nature, just being a very, very good scientist. All of this was accepted as legitimate pathways to arriving at the truth of things. And therefore, there was mutual respect. I'll just, because this particular session also was focusing a little bit on language, music, cuisine, I'll just try and share some of these and arts as well. So here, I just want to talk to you about the alphabet of the Sanskrit language, and just to give you a feel of the wonder and beautiful structure that was there in this language. So if I ask you, and just a small question to the hosts here, to the hosts of the program, can anybody, can our participants unmute themselves and speak? Could somebody please, are they allowed to unmute and speak? Because my next question would have that.
I guess, yeah, but the host doesn't allow the attendees to speak since there are many. So I guess only panel can speak. So
Panel can speak.
yeah,
But is it possible to bring some students in? The reason being that when you I'd like to hear the alphabet of some of your languages. So is it possible to arrange that?
yes, host, please. Is it possible?
I just come in, Sandeep here.
Yes.
You can randomly request some of the participants and allow them access, no?
Okay, sure.
All right. So is it
Or,
possible?
let the participant drop in a chat box that they want to voluntarily come up.
Wonderful, Bhushanji. Thank you. So if anybody would like to, share their alphabet, please mention that you'd like to do so. And I'd like to just hear. It's a fun exercise to listen to the different alphabets of this Farsi alphabet. Azraji, would you like to mention it? So would you like to say it aloud? Can we elevate Azraji to a panelist position to be able to share her thoughts?
I request attendees to raise the hand so the host can allow you to speak. Yes, please.
So is there anybody? This is an invitation for you to come and share your alphabet. So not the entire thing, maybe at least 5, 6 letters. So we just hear the different sounds. It's not possible to
We
unmute.
have
So
some
raise your hands.
raised hand. Yeah.
Wonderful,
So
wonderful. Love to hear. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So can I call out? So Kadi Saidi, would you like to try and say your alphabet? Tell us the language and tell us your alphabet. Just a little bit. Can we get them on?
I don't know, like if host has given this rights.
I am
it's
on
still
this right now. Okay. Anybody? Sorry, it's gone back. Anybody? Can I, or then what do we do? We've got someone from Israel. Azra Jeno is from Parsi. David Tolosa, I don't know where you are from. Anybody? Is it possible? Oh, but so many people would love to share. Love to hear. I would love to. Zainab Bintai. Can we get her to speak? Him or her? Mr. Him. Can we? Sanjeev ji? Is it possible?
Yeah, Anuradha, madam, 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to IT team.
All right.
Give me a few seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So in the meanwhile, I'll just because the English alphabet is something that all of us are familiar with. So I'll just like the English alphabet is A, B, C. I'd like you to say it along with me. All right. Just like you to repeat it along, and I'd like you to think of what is the position in your mouth when you're saying this. How are you really making these sounds? There is a mechanism for it, right? So if you do A, B, C, what happens? D. Where are the sounds coming from? So maybe while we are waiting for you to, they're trying to see if they can, make you speak. Would you like to on the chat just tell me, like, so if you say A or no, let's say B, how do you produce the sound B? So try to do it. So this is my session would also be a little experimental. So I'd like you, or experiential rather than experimental. I'd like you to try and make the sound B, or let's say the sound N. How do you get the sound N? What is your mouth doing? B. Yes. Yes. Indonesia, we have numerous of tribes, and the sounds we pronounce an alphabet could really differ. Okay. All right. In. All right. B, Bina Sinhala, yes, B. Okay, all right. Okay, so we see that there is not, we don't really know where B, so the lips are used, okay? But E, so in other, like for example, I know the French language, you say B. It's not B, it's a B.
ma'am, there are some students who can speak now. I will request you can call out the name. Should I call out the name? KD, please. You can speak. Yeah, KD. Just unmute your mic and speak. Bernardo. Yes, you can speak, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
B. The word B for start is pronounced like B. I used to pronounce like B.
Okay, no,
B.
I'd like you to say your alphabet. So tell me, let us know where you are from and tell us maybe 3, 4 letters or 4 letters of your alphabet, 4 or 5.
Yes, no, I'm from Mozambique.
Mozambique.
Yes.
And tell us your alphabet.
A, B, C, D.
Okay. So it's like the English language.
Yes.
Right.
No. It's Portuguese actually.
Okay. Portuguese. Okay.
A, B, C, D.
All right.
F,
Okay.
G,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else? So we have a Portuguese alphabet. You said A, B, C. Okay, very good. Another one? Anyone else?
Amashi, please speak. Yeah.
Please.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Amashi from Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Our alphabet has 58 words,
Okay.
but no, usually using only 38. Let me pronounce some of the letters.
Yes.
A, A,
All right.
I, U, O,
Very
like that way.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, thank you. We have Naveed Siddiq ji who wants to speak.
We have Israel. Israel, you can speak now.
Can
Okay.
Naveed Siddiq also speak? Okay.
Okay, madam, my name is Israel Hailu. I'm from Ethiopia.
All
And
right.
our alphabet character, it has 33 character.
All right.
And some of them sound like this. Ha, le, me, sa, re, sha, ka, beta, and so
All
on.
right. Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And we have, yes, who else can
Hamida?
Naveed?
Hamida from, yes, you can speak now.
Hello everyone, it is Hamida Nasiri from Afghanistan, and we have 32 alphabets like Aleph, Be, Te, Te, Se, Jim, and Che, He, He,
All
Dol,
right.
Dol, and so on.
Very interesting. Thank you. This is very similar to the Arabic Persian letters that are there, no?
Yeah,
Aleph, Be.
there are some alphabets which are share with Arabic.
Yes, yes, yes. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So I'll move on now. So what you see is that the understanding, so the way you're pronouncing your letters, there is not necessarily an awareness of I have to put my tongue there, that is not necessarily so clearly defined. And then there is not necessarily a very systematic logic between one letter and the next letter. In the Sanskrit language, which is the oldest language of the Indian civilization and one of the oldest languages of the world, we see that there is a very clear there's a very clear designation of the letter to the place of pronunciation. So you have the throat, you have the palate, like you can see in 2, you have the cerebrus. It's the point that if you have a palate, it's the center point there. Okay. Then you have the teeth, and then you have the lips. And each of the letters is assigned to this with the length of the vowel and then also the breath that you put into it. So, for example, I'd love to take you through our alphabet here. So, just to give you a taste of the sounds of this language. If you're familiar with the sounds of the Sanskrit language, it will also help you to pick up, to recognize these sounds of the different Indian languages. So, it's a great way to also, be initiated into the languages of this land. So, I'd like to invite you to join me and also to discover how it is happening. Okay, so we have the first vowels, short and long. So, do you want to do that? You can even stay unmuted. I don't mind if there are 1 or 2 people unmuted and you're repeating after me. So I leave it to the hosts to decide that. Okay, so and then e, palatal sounds, then oo. So we had our friend sister from Sri Lanka. You would have seen that we don't go a. So we have e, oo, and then r, l, and then a, I, O, ow, ah. Okay, and then we have consonants. So the system of consonants is fabulous. I'll actually take you to the next slide because then you can follow along also. So here we have the English, the Roman script that you can also join me. So you see that the first 5 letters are all in the throat. And there is a logic to that. The first one is touch sounds. So there's a touch in the throat, and then the vowel So k, kh, g, gh, the nose there. Okay, so touch sound, breath, sound, touch, breath, nasal. This logic is followed as the sound comes out of the human vocal system. You have the next one, which are ch, ch, j, ch, nya. The tongue stays in the same place. Then you go on top here. T, th, d, d, n. Next, the teeth. The, th, d, th, n. Next, lips. P, p, b, p, m. Okay, so we put 5 places, 5 letters per place. The order is the order in which sound comes out of the human vocal system, alternating with breath and closing with the nose always. Okay, and then you have semi-vowels. So we had a to e, it became a. E to a becomes y. So you see we have e and a. It becomes 2 to 1 is y, 3 to 1 is r, 4 to 1 is l, 5 to 1 is w or v. And then you have 3 sh sounds, sibilants. So you have sh, sh, s, and then in the throat, h. So what we've done basically when you're saying the Sanskrit alphabet, you've done a full massage of your vocal system. I tell my friends when we talk about the Sanskrit alphabet, if somebody only speaks, let's say English, or you only speak French, then in terms of touch, you've got the k, which is in the throat, and then you've got the ch, and then you've got the th if you only speak French. So this region is never stimulated. So if you only spoke French, then or Spanish or Portuguese, you would never produce sounds in this region of your palate, which means that these parts of your mouth are never stimulated in your brain. Because you do a touch, it stimulates a part in your brain. So those parts are never physically stimulated. So the Sanskrit language, and therefore all the Indian languages that have derived from that, have a very conscious and systematic touch of the different parts of the human vocal system. And therefore it gives a very good massage to the brain. this is one way. So, and this is just the alphabet. In fact, there's a European scholar who said that the Sanskrit language is so perfect because it means that which is well done. Samyak kritam iti Sanskritam. That which is well done. Okay, so we have this perfection of the sound system, and then you have the grammar. But I won't go into the grammar; it would be just too complicated. But just largely, it allows us to say things in short. So in English, if you say the boy goes to school from home, bicycle with friend, to study in the morning. In Sanskrit, you can say that whole thing in 9 words. If you have 18 words, you can say it in 9 words. So it allows certain fantastic things to emerge. There's a free word order. I can say the boy to school in the morning from home. I can really mix and match in the Sanskrit language. But that you'll discover more of it when you stay here, hopefully. And then another fantastic thing you can do, because every letter in the Sanskrit language means something. So I can organize a verse of 4 lines. So I put one syllable in a box, and then I make a mirror image of that. And what do I get? I get a magic square, which means that I can read it from here, I can read it in the opposite direction, I can read it like this, I can read it upwards, I can read it in any direction, and I will still get the same lines. Okay, so there's a lot of fantastic mathematics that can come out of this. And another one which is remarkable is, I know you can't read that, but just understand that this first verse, whatever it is, it goes thera gasam sada rathya. So one syllable, you put it in a box. Then you mix the order of the letters and you get the second verse. What is the result? So you put it on the same box and you create the second verse. Sthita. Okay, you create the second verse. The fact is that this is does anybody play chess in the group? If you play chess, you can just tell me in the chat box that you play chess. If you play chess, I want to see if you know about this. What does this represent in the chess box, in the chess board? Like this. What is this representing? Exactly, Roxando, exactly. So, why is this particular square so fabulous here? Why is it so incredible? Because you're trying to understand the incredible features of this, different aspects of this culture. So the Sanskrit language, there are poems. So if you have one verse and you change the order, you will get the answer to how a horse can move in every single square of the chessboard, but done through poetry. It's actually a fantastic mathematics problem that is solved here. Okay. And also for many of you to know, there are games that we commonly play, like the chess. There's also the snakes and ladder. All these games have their origins in the Indian culture. So the game of chess is a brilliant mind game. You have the snakes and ladders. All of you are familiar with the snakes and ladders, I'm sure. So the snakes and ladder is all about, if you do good things, you will get promotion. If you do bad things, then you will get like the snake, you will come down the snake. So many interesting games that India has also offered to the world for their entertainment, for how to spend leisure time. Coming to more technical things of the trade routes, and this is where I wanted to tell you. We see that there was an extensive, India had lots of, we had, what do you say, these ports, and we had these trade routes. In fact, there is a record of the Greeks, who were Greek Senate, they're saying that we are spending too much of our silver buying saris from India. This is written in their edits, their documents that are there. So we were trading far and wide since ancient times. In fact, I'll just give you an idea of the kind of wealth that was there in this land. India and China together, before the British invaded us, we held more than 33% of the world's GDP. Then we also have the fact that when the British were taking the wealth from the kingdoms and shipping it back home for their development, a lot of the industrial revolution took place on the wealth from not just India, but a lot of the colonized lands supported the industrial development of the colonizers. So anyway, just to let you know the kind of wealth, there was one kingdom of in Bengal, the last kingdom that fell. And when that kingdom fell, the British took back 126 ships full of wealth from the kingdom. And they could not take back more because they did not have the ships to take back more. So sometimes it's an irony when people say that, this is a land of poverty. This was a land of plenty that was brought down to poverty, and it's part of the larger game of history. We don't know why, what happens, but it's important to know to appreciate the historical reasons for certain degenerations that do take place as well. Okay, moving on. So we see that Indian influence, huge influence, especially in the Southeast Asian regions. The language has similarities, the structures, the architecture has similarities, the cuisine has certain similarities. Okay. And certain wonderful architectural, because we were also going to talk art. So we have the Somnathpura in Karnataka. Incredible artistry in terms of sculptures, the fine sculptures that were there. Then you have the Belur, the Halabid, Belur and Halabid here. We have this woman who's looking into the mirror herself. Extremely intricate structure. The Khajuraho temples are known. And India was also a land that did not shy away from sexuality. We have, I think many of you would also know of the text of Kama Sutra. So the whole text of Kama Sutra was written because the idea is that all of life is a celebration, and all of life is an art and a science. We have to know the art and science of architecture, you have to know the art and science of cuisine, you have to know the art and science of music, you have to know the art of science even of love making. So there is an elaborate description of how, when, what, but we never got stuck by that. It's that is important, that is an important phase of life, but one has to look for the truth behind all of that. So there was always a celebration of life and a looking for a deeper meaning behind it. And here you have Hampi, famous Vijayanagar Empire, excellent architecture again in those regions. I'll take you a little further back. I'll take you a little further. There are questions coming in. I'll try and see if I can wrap this up in another 5-10 minutes. 5 minutes, I'll try and see so I can accommodate your questions. This is the Great Bath of the Indus Valley civilization. So it's known as the Great Bath. So at that time, how did they build these pools? How did they, what was the architecture? What was the engineering marvel that allowed water to be brought here? From where did the water come? There were hot baths, cold baths. How were they doing all of that? You have the Brihadeshwara temple here, where you see these huge pillars have, they have these fantastic, smooth, round pillars. What kind of technology did they use? This is the Kailashnath temple from Ajanta and Ellora cave temples. So this one is a marvel. This third one, if you can see my cursor, because it was a temple that was built top down. There was it's made of one single rock, okay, one big hill. So the architects built it from up down, and it's fabulous. It's very, very big. The size is huge. You can see human beings down there, some people down there, massive structures. But just think of the architectural wonder that they had to conceive of this. So I joke and say, I said, if you cut off the nose of one of the statues, you have to find a whole new mountain to start with, a whole new, rock to start working on. Another very famous temple known as the Konark temple, which had the sundial as the wheels. So time was marked there, etc. Everything is an expression of divinity, certain important ideas, because we were, like I told you, we were not really a religion. Hinduism is considered as a religion from people who came to India with a certain way of looking at man's connection with God and the world. In India, we looked at the philosophy of life because, as you are already familiar, there is no one God. Anything can become godlike because the idea is that there is a force behind it, and that force can take on any form. It's an intelligence that is there. All right, so a large idea of monism, that there is one truth, it has many, many forms. It's like one energy that can become the energy of the fan, it can become the energy of the light, it can become the energy of form, heat. But each of those energies has a certain power, a certain profile. So our gods are different profiles of one larger truth. So monism to polytheism, many gods. Even those, there was no compulsion that you have to believe in God. You have several who did not believe in God, but fine, that was their experience of life. That was also accepted. Agnosticism was about saying that I don't believe till I know for myself. That was also accepted. And it has given rise to four main religions. The word religion needs to be understood again because it comes from the Latin religare, which means to connect. So all different faiths are ways of connecting the individual to something that is larger than itself. You have monotheistic religions that say, no, there is only one. Some will say, no, there is only mine. It's a way of life. There are others who will say, yes, there is one truth, but your truth is also equally important. Your truth is also equally important. So it has given a rise, this land has given rise to four great ways of understanding the world, which is Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. A pursuit of truth, like I told you, was very important because they said that there is a truth and we need to know that truth. Just like a scientist, if you want to understand the world, and it's like we're all into this game. If you want to play the game well, you have to know the rules of the game. And therefore, we are all into this game of creation. What are these rules? Can we know those rules? And the Indian civilization said yes. Don't just play a game because somebody has told you have to do this, you have to do that. Everything can be known through scientific approaches, not the modern science, but you can ask and know and ask and know. And therefore, to know yourself, self-realization was very important. And there was an understanding that there is a purpose in this existence, to know oneself, to become free. Because we go through life's journey, we are all in this car, and none of us really knows what this car is all about. So since we are in the car, we can try to find out what is the make, how much petrol there is, which direction is this car going on, can I become the driver? Very important questions that were asked. So who am I is in the center stage of the Indian civilizational questions. Okay, who am I? Where am I going? Why am I here? What can I do about it? How do I relate to the world? How much freedom do I have to choose what I want to do? So very important again. Yes, so again, there was not this, as I mentioned, we are not a tolerant people, we are an accepting people. I have my way, you have your way, you have been made differently. Your way and my way cannot be the same way. We can choose to follow a similar path. But if I say that everything that I do, you have to do, then we are going against the truth of our natures. Is what the Sanatana Dharma, the Hindu philosophy talks about. Okay? And it says that my story, did it start only with my birth, or did I come in from somewhere else? Even my genes are made by my parents. Their genes are made by their parents. So my life story has past, has antecedents, and it will not finish with me, because I will continue, and until I know who I am, I will continue. These are the stories of karma and rebirth. Time is short, otherwise I would have loved to have maybe I can just give you an idea, a taste of the idea of karma. Okay. So many of you, God is one. So Navid is saying, no, ma'am, God is one. So Navid, what we would say here is that there is one truth. You can call that God, you can call that energy, you can call that what you want. There is a truth. And like I said, you can call it what you want. But that truth can have various names. And this is the worldview that is underlying the Indian philosophy. All right, the Hindu way of life, or the Sanatana Dharma approach, says that there are many ways of doing it. And therefore we can accept you to be part of us, and you, and we learn from each other. So, like I said, this is a more sensitive topic, and God willing, or inshallah, we'll have a time to possibly try and understand these philosophies differently. Okay, so there was not this idea. So karma basically says that all of us do an action. So you walk into an ice cream shop, you choose an ice cream, right? You like the ice cream. So what happens? Action one, you walk into an ice cream shop and choose chocolate ice cream, let's say. The moment you have the ice cream, then there is an idea that I like the ice cream, or I don't like the ice cream. Next time I will walk into an ice cream shop. If you like the ice cream, what will you do next time you walk into an ice cream shop? What will you do? Supposing, let's say, you like the chocolate ice cream. Next time you go in an ice cream shop, what is the natural tendency? Natural tendency will be that I'll take the chocolate ice cream, right? Because I have a past experience and my future. So the future action is decided by your past experience. So this is the idea of karma, that action decides future actions, and the present action is decided by its past actions. So that is largely the idea of karma a little bit, okay? And time is not linear. Time goes up, it comes down. And also what we discussed in the beginning, that man is not, this world has not been given to man to dominate over nature. Creation, according to the Vedas, all of this came up, and all of us have to coexist. There is, if nature perishes, man will perish. So I look after nature because nature is none other than me in a different form. That's one of the key ideas. Moving on, significant issues. So yes, as you will look at this country around you, you will notice that there are issues. There is the idea of this jati. There is a difference, hierarchical difference that is there. But again, I would say don't go on it on a face value. India is a land that defies any singular generalization. So if somebody is mistreating somebody else based on a certain social strata, people from the same society will not necessarily misbehave with somebody else. So we are a land of multiple paradoxes coexisting. So if you are, since you are going to know India a little more closely, one advice as an elder sister would be that be careful about making simple generalizations of anything you observe, because the next minute there might be something that is very different. Okay, so don't get into stereotyping. Stereotyping in a general is problematic across the world, but India more so because of the impressions we might have, can be even more problematic at times. So yes, there are problems. There are problems of gender, like in many parts of the world as well. Female infanticide is a reality, unfortunately, but it's a reality that different organizations, the government is trying to address, social organizations are trying to address in their own level. Women are becoming more educated. When they become mothers, they are more educated as mothers. So problems are existing, solutions are being found, we have not resolved all our problems for sure, like no other nation in the world for that matter. There is harassment, there is corruption also is there. We have issues. Development is an issue. Development at the cost of nature is an issue. Employment, urbanization. We have the youngest population of the world. So how do you employ this population is a question. Urbanization, there is decentralized power in urban areas versus rural areas. People are migrating, that causes its own problems. Sustainability is a problem because short-term solutions are preferred over long-term ones. Issues like water, all natural resources. Again, we see that a lot of these problems are not necessarily only India specific, but they exist very much in India in their own shades. Waste management, again, a big issue. Big number of people, a lot more waste, pollution, corruption. Hence, to understand India, so our traffic is a great place to start. We are a land that allows everything to coexist simultaneously. So you can have the elephant, the Mercedes, the rickshaw, the cyclist, all occupying the same space with equal right of movement that can happen. So a lot of freedom to choose one's way. You have alternative scenarios where everything has to be regimented, regulated, etc. And you find that in India also. It's not that everywhere you have an elephant walking on the road. So you get the mix there. And food, so our cuisine, they talked of 6 major tastes. And those tastes allowed us to, the sweet, the sour, the sweet, sour, salty, bitter, the non-different, it's called kashaya. It's like neither sweet nor salty or sour, etc. That is there. So a very detailed understanding of food, the spices, the role of the spices. In fact, world over, they're recognizing the importance of turmeric as a very, very good antiseptic. The pepper, India used to be a land where foreign countries used to come to trade for our spices. So we have a very rich legacy of cuisine. Every region has its, every household. Sometimes it literally is households have their own preparation, their own types of, sambar and, all of that, which has been homogenized as the curry. But curry is just a very simple generic term. We have like almost like few thousands of varieties of curry, depending on the region you are in. And the spread of food. So this is the Rajasthani thali. So I sincerely hope that this corona will pass and all of you will be able to come to this land and enjoy the wealth of tastes and smells and sights that this land has to offer. Okay, so that's the Rajasthani thali where you have this main item and smaller items around it. You have the Bengali thali. You see the presentation also is very different. You have this is the thali from Maharashtra, so you have the west, the east. This is also the southwest a little bit. You have the thali from Tamil Nadu, that's the southeast, and you have Karnataka in the center. Karnataka also is in the south only, but you have it on the banana leaf. The reason for eating on the banana leaf is that it's environmentally friendly as well, and this continues even today. So it's environmentally friendly. You once the food is eaten, you give the leaf to the cow to have to nourish the cow. There's no water wasted. There's no soap that is utilized to pollute groundwater. In fact, when you put hot food on the banana leaf, the leaf itself leaves certain chemicals are released, which are again very good for the body. So we see again that this thali, concept of the thali is that there is one central item, but everyone can customize it the way they want to. There is not a fixed idea that you have to eat this, you have to eat this, you have to eat this. There is no fixed order in which food can be taken. Food can be eaten from different. I know that there are many countries in Africa also that everybody shares, from one area. So we see that food is also reflective of a certain philosophy. So there are different ways that we eat, and I think again one needs to celebrate this diversity rather than saying everybody has to eat in one single way. No need. Okay. And the dances. So we have these 8 classical dances. Bharatanatyam is from the south. Kathak is from the north. Kathakali is again from Kerala. Bharatanatyam is from Tamil Nadu. Kuchipudi is from the Andhra Pradesh regions, again southeast. Manipuri is from the northwest. Mohiniyattam is again from Kerala in the south. Odissi is from Orissa, which is the mid east. Then this is Kshatriya, again from the northeast. So we see that there are various kinds of dance forms. If we were having this in person, I would have given you a taste of it, you know. So the different expressions, the different mudras, the hand movements that are different in different culture, in different dance forms that are there. Okay. We have folk dances. So the classical dances have a much more rigorous grammar of expression, of hand movements. The folk dances are, of course, expressing the joy and colors of life. So again, you have from Kashmir to you have Punjab, and then you have Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. You have the Maharashtra here. You have Assam, Northeast. You have Punjab. You have Karnataka, the Yakshagana. You have Gujarat, the Garba. You have Rajasthan again. So again, various dance forms that are of the local people to express, that celebrate the different festivals of the seasons of the land. And just some more to understand, you have the chairperson of ISRO, when Dr. K. Radhakrishnan. So when we were releasing the Mangalyaan, which was the Indian vehicle that landed successfully on Mars at, I think, 1/10 or something the cost of a Hollywood movie. So with very little, it was able to achieve great results. So the Mangalyaan, the ISRO chairman, he visited the temple and offered a prototype there. So in India, science and religion have never been at loggerheads because it is a way of life. Life was a scientific inquiry, and science was nothing but application of life. Okay, so we have, you see, these were some of the top scientists who were involved. So there you see, there are people who are from a very traditional background and yet with great forward-thinking ideas. And so you see that beneath the apparent chaos exists a harmony. Beneath the diversity lies an unshakable unity. Modernity is just a seamless extension of tradition. And this land is a land, like I told you, that defies all stereotypes. It transcends binaries. Some quotations about India by people who've known her. India was the motherland of our race, and Sanskrit the mother of Europe's languages. She was the mother of our philosophy, mother through the Arabs of much of our mathematics, mother through the Buddha of ideas embodied in Christianity, mother through the village community of self-government and democracy. Mother India is in many ways the mother of us all. We owe a lot to this was by Will Durant, a historian philosopher. Albert Einstein, the renowned physicist, he says, we all owe a lot to the Indians who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery could have been made. And we have Romain Rolland, a French scholar, who says, if there is one place on the face of earth where all the dreams of living men have found a home from the very earliest days when man began the dream of existence, it is India. And we have Mark Twain, an American author, who says, so far as I'm able to judge, nothing has been left undone, either by man or nature, to make India the most extraordinary country that the sun visits on his rounds. Nothing seems to have been forgotten, nothing overlooked. And so I close on this slide which says, welcome to India, the land of possibilities. And if you want to survive in India, there is one mantra that you must all know without fail, and that is to expect the unexpected. So I'll stop here with these few words. I'd love to hear any comments, questions. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So I'll stop the sharing.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. It was a very resourceful talk. Now I would like our attendees to post your questions, or whoever are in the panel, they can ask directly to ma'am. So yeah, if there is a question, please do ask.
I think if as we wait for questions, I can't see if there's any question as yet. Thank you so much, Saifullah Rahmi ji, thank you, wonderful, and thank you so much. Amashi ji, yes, thank you for the wonderful, thank you very much. Thanks. Anybody has any questions? I'd love to answer. So just even this gesture of namaste that is proving to be a lifesaver during the times of Corona as a greeting is also, there is a physiological benefit to it, and I'd love to share that with you. So you have the right palm that has the nerve endings connected to the left brain lobe, and the left palm that has nerve endings connected to the right brain lobe. So normally, you know, the two brain lobes have a small bridge that connects them. When we do this, and I'd like to invite you to do it very consciously, close all the nerve endings. So when you close it, you will complete a lot of nervous circuits. And then when you do it with sounds like the Om, Shalom, Amin, Amen, all these sounds are, you see, there are similar sounds there. It's not so different as we think, really. When we think of, you know, people who found these sounds. So when you close your hands and you do this sounds, you become more whole. And that's why we use it as a gesture of prayer. And when we say namaste in India, we are saying, I salute you. Sometimes you might think, you know, this person is not so worthy of my namaste. But the point is that behind everyone, within everyone, there is a certain truth. And our salutation is in recognition of the best that that person has. And so when two people do namaste to each other, it is saying that may the best in you come out and may the best in me be manifest. And we accept that all of us have limitations. No one is perfect. But the entire philosophy of this land says, grow to your utmost potential. Become the best that you can be, because then we will have a wonderful world. It's not about what I believe in. I'll take you through a last exercise. Can I? Can I take you through a last exercise? All right. So I'd like all of you to do this. This is my latest favorite. Okay. So if you look at my other talks, you will say, okay, not again. But I want you to do this for me. So I'd like you to look at your hand, and I'd like you to answer my questions as well here. Okay. So look at your hand and tell me what you see. So tell me what you see. You can unmute, you can give your answers on the chat, whatever you want. So tell me, what do you see when you look at your hand? क्या देखते हो? You know, what are you seeing? Qu'est-ce que vous voyez, if I can ask the French? What do you see? Tell me. I mean, there is no right or wrong answer. It's your answer. So don't get nervous about it. Just what do you see?
Lines.
Lines, correct. What else? Lines, exactly. Hamida also saying yes. What else? Just observation, pure observation. What are you seeing here? You see lines. Look beyond. Look at the overall. Don't get stuck on the lines only. What else are you seeing? When you look at your hand, what are the things you see?
Fingers.
Fingers, exactly. What else? Does everybody's hand have the same color? No. Right. Part of my hand. Yeah, exactly. So it's not a complete thing. It is part of something else as well. Numbers. All right. You see numbers. Very good. Some people will see potential. So many things you can look at your hand and see, right? There is a texture, there's a color, there's very fab. Now, do you know about the infrared lens?
Yes.
So if you wear an infrared lens, what will you see? Will you see your hand? Will you see the colors? Will you see the lights? Will you see the lines? No, right? We will see colors. We will see heat waves. You'll see green and blue and red, depending on how hot your hand is. Will be different colors. All of you have done X-ray sometime in your life or the other. So I'm telling you to now wear an X-ray lens. So wear an X-ray lens and look at your hand. What will you see? Will you see colors? You will see what?
Bones.
You'll see bones. Correct. You see bones. You'll see a little bit of skin around it. And now, supposing I tell you, look at an X-ray lens and look at the world. The world will look like a very different place. You will deal. Will you be bothered about cosmetic products? Just for example. If you were looking at a human being through an X-ray lens, will you worry about cosmetic products? You would not, because the color and all doesn't make sense, right? Huh? Now, next thing. So, if you're familiar with the quantum world of looking at the world through atoms and small particles, if you look at your hand through that, will you see your hand? You'll not even see your hand. You will not see. You look at yourself through a quantum lens, you will not see yourself. You look at the world Nothing. You will not see a tree, you will not see the table, you will not see your computer. You will only see atoms, vibrating atoms all over. All right. So the point that the Indian civilization arrived at was this. They said that the way we look at the world depends on the lens that you are wearing. If your lens is yellow, you will look at the whole world as yellow. If your lens is an X-ray lens, you will look at the whole world as X-ray lens. If you look at the world through the lens of gender, you will only see man, woman, and other categories. If you look at the lens through color, you will see black, white, brown, all the other colors. You look at the world through a lens of religion, you will see Hindu, Muslim, Christian, all of that. But all of these are lenses. And we have the freedom, we have the possibility of cleaning that lens so that you can look at the world for what it is. And India is one land that has invested in that, in the approach to look at the world like that. So whenever you visit India, try to appreciate the different lenses, but try to see if you can look at this land without any lenses. Try to see if you can look at yourself without any lenses. So the last exercise I would like you to do is close your eyes for a moment and just imagine the world as being nothing but vibrating energy. So close your eyes and look at the entire universe as vibrating energy. Then look at the world. Will you see the national boundaries? Will you see people boundaries? What are the verbs you would use if you lived in a world of, without any boundaries? You are none other than everybody else here. And in our collective growth, in our personal growth, in our collective growth, we will make the world a better place. And I'd love to end on that message.
We have a question. The Israel has asked that why do we touch our feet and put the hand on chest? So the practice we do, like, if you please explain about it.
Yes. So it's normally known as the pranam. The pranam is when we are we're respecting ourselves. You see, one of the things that we have in the Indian context is we respect the wisdom or the experience that is gained by our elders. All said and done, no matter how much access I have to information as a youngster, I can have access to information, I cannot have access to experience. A lot of learning only happens after you have lived through a certain experience. So no matter how much I know about the world through the internet, I will never have the wisdom of a wise person, of an elder who has actually gone through those interactions, has learned through life's experiences. So when we touch somebody's feet, we are just offering, it's more for the person also, that you say, I have the humility to learn from you. I'm here to listen also, not with my head up that I think I know everything and I roam around. So it's just a gesture of saying, I'm offering my salutations to the wisdom of your experience you've had. And we touch the heart because it's close to us as well. So there is again no single way of doing it. If you come to India, you'll see there are many shades of this way of showing the respect. But most often the youngsters would do it to the older person. And it's not also necessary. Sometimes you will see that this land has wisdom. We honored wisdom. We honored enlightenment, people who know themselves. They were more powerful than people who had power. So sometimes you have very young people who have the wisdom, and you will have rich people, elderly people coming and touching their feet. So there are many of these stereotypes, non-conventional ways, but one thing you will find is the respect for knowledge, the respect for wisdom, the respect for true experience. And wherever one finds it, it doesn't, at that stage, doesn't matter which caste you are from, it doesn't matter what status you are from, it doesn't matter which gender you're from. If you have that light in you, you deserve respect. It doesn't matter what culture you're from. So we have welcomed people. Lucy Ji is a great example. I saw Lucy Ji come up. So Lucy Ji is a great example of being someone from a very different culture. but somebody who has, through her own self-investigation, self-study, acquired a certain wisdom that all of us would bow down and respect. So at the end of the day, who you are matters than what you have. And I like to love to. I know I have said many closes, but this is a fantastic for me as a Sanskrit, as someone who's passionate with Sanskrit. The Sanskrit language does not have the verb to have. We only have the verb to be. So I cannot say I have a pen or I have a phone. The phone is with me. And that is because as a civilization, we valued who you are rather than how much you have. What you have was only valuable if you made you a better person. So the focus was always on become the best you can. It doesn't matter what culture, it doesn't matter what language, it doesn't matter what race, it doesn't matter what religion. If you can become the best you have, you will deserve respect. From an Indian, at least, in the real sense of an Indian. Thank you. I hope, Israel, I answered your question. Lucy ji. I didn't realize it was you. My pranams to you.
Anuradha ji, lastly, very shortly, can you explain just in a brief what the significance of Indian woman wearing bindi?
That is a favorite. All right. So first and foremost, I'd like to break your idea that it's only women who wear bindi. All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
come to the south, you see even men wear bindis.
Yes.
Okay. So this, and it has various shapes. Sometimes it's round, sometimes it's long, sometimes it's across the forehead. You will
Yes.
find it appearing in different colors and different formats on the forehead. Now, that is also a reason because this point, in terms of our energy centers, represents the pineal gland. It's a very important center of concentration, and that helps us have a better mind and a better body. Let me put it like that. So originally, it was not a sticker. Like what I'm wearing is a sticker. Okay, this is for fashion. This has social implications possibly, but it's for fashion. Originally, they would use natural spices like turmeric or sandalwood paste or ash. Now, when you put it on the pineal gland here, this is what I've heard. It has a certain reaction with the sun's rays and the moon's rays. You see, we are from an Indian perspective, we are all vibratory beings and we are interconnected with the world around us through vibrations, through energy. So when the sun's rays touch that point, they can stimulate it. So if somebody is very active, they should put sandalwood and it will cool them down because that is the property of sandalwood. So one is that it was a natural thing to act on the center. The second is that it was also indicative of the community you belong to. So some will wear a long one, it will indicate something. Some who wear a cross with few lines, that indicates that they are devotees of Shiva. Some will have a U shape, they are devotees of Vishnu. So it was also a marker of a community. In general also, it looks, sometimes it's just a matter of look, it can enhance the beauty. Another social reason I've heard is it's to distract the men from looking into the eyes of the woman. So it's the third eye opening. So there are multiple reasons for that. But like I said, it's a matter of style. It has style things. It has the community indicator. It has health reasons, etc.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Okay, so I take this session and like I would like to present my vote of thanks for the session today. Hello, I am Bhushan from OC Mumbai chapter. We are blessed to receive Professor Anuradha as a speaker for this session. It was very resourceful and brainstorming session today. I'm sure our international friends have found it knowledgeable and got valuable resource. Uh, I would say, like for me, this resource was very valuable as I'm a student of humanity, have studied the ancient history, medieval history, and modern history, and culture, art is a part of my education. So it was really, resource and uh, knowledgeable for me, informative for me. In today's session, ma'am has elaborate about India is a land of diversity, shares a value of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which means world is a family. Your presentation on Indian diversity in numbers like its language, population, quick view of historical timeline, it was amazing. Indian heritage of civilization, spiritual values, thoughts, and culture is unique in the world. Interaction on Sanskrit Varnamala was beautiful, exercise, also informative and interesting. In heritage, your insight on trade routes on the Indian Ocean and its on the role of India on it, architectural marvels, religion, Hindu practices of karma, cuisine, the taste of India, dance of India, gave us an unique identity which attracts the world toward us. So, ma'am, I thank you very much on behalf of ICCR, World Organization of Students and Youth, and our international friends who are attending this session. I thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. I'd also again like to mention that I'm grateful to Dr. Vinay Chandra, a very dear friend and director Indica Yoga, and also a member of WOSY for this presentation largely that I have done piggybacked on now and share it with all of you. So thank you to him also. Yes.
Thank you,
Lastly,
ma'am.
I would like to thank ICCR, OC, and our friends for being here, making this wonderful session. I conclude this session with Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
And sorry, I would like to end as we typical. I started with a mantra, with some invocation. We have to end on a Shanti mantra, okay, which is a invocation of peace for everybody. All right. So there is one. I will say it, and I want you to say it after me, because all of you will be new. So it'll be just you can taste the Sanskrit language. So this particular mantra says, it says, "Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha." Let everybody be happy. Sarve santu niramayaha. Let everybody be without disease, more so in today's age of the corona. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Let everybody see the good. Finally, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Let nobody have any sorrow. Om Shanti, 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 Om peace 3 times, because there are 3 levels. There's a physical world, there's a subtle world, and there is the ideal world. So we want peace at all the levels. This particular verse is also a responsibility, because when you say let everybody be happy, it requires us as a responsibility to be happy for myself. Let everybody be without disease. I should practice good health as a responsibility. Let everybody see the good. This can only happen if every individual is practicing the good. So if I have to start with myself. If I practice the good, people around me will see the good. So my prayer will come true. And finally, let nobody have any sorrow. For that, every individual should not give sorrow to anybody else. Then we will not have sorrow at large. So as much as possible. And Om peace, peace. So I'll say it. And normally we tend to do it like a prayer, but I love to do it as an Indian dance. I promised you some experience of that. So join me now. All right. So the dance is like this. Okay. So survey, everybody. So I'll do the action and you follow me as I say it. All right. So Sar Om Sarve. Like everybody to follow. So everybody. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. So when you're doing this, you have to feel happy. You're looking up. You're literally bringing happiness. You can't do happy like that. So Sukhinaha. Bring that happiness as you do this action. Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha, without disease. Take out all the disease from your body. Take it out. Wash it away. Sarve Bhadrani, good things. Bashyantu, see. Ma kashchit, let nobody. Dukkha bhog bhavet, let nobody have any sorrow. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much to WOSY and to ICCR for this fantastic, and to the fantastic participants. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nitinji. So do I log out or you'll close?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.